The air in Atlanta's reality TV universe has never been thicker with tension than it is right now. Fans are buzzing, social media timelines are ablaze, and everyone wants to know, how did Kendra Robinson, the cool-headed wife of young Jock, end up standing shoulder to shoulder with Jasmine Washington in a fight against none other than Rasheeda Frost? The story begins with whispers at a late-night industry mixer. Cameras weren't supposed to be rolling, but someone's phone was quick enough to catch the moment. Rasheeda allegedly confronted Jasmine about her ongoing connection to Kirk. Voices were raised, insults were thrown, and just when it seemed like the room would explode, Kendra stepped in. That single interruption set off shockwaves that no one saw coming. "Hold on, Rashida. This isn't fair." Kendra's voice reportedly cut through the chaos. To those watching, it was like a record scratch in the middle of a club anthem. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, Jasmine froze, and Kirk, usually the loudest in the room, was left completely silent. For fans who have followed the Frost family saga for years, this moment wasn't just another spat. It was a collision of loyalty, betrayal, and the unlikeliest alliance. Why would Kendra, who usually steers clear of messy drama, suddenly defend Jasmine, the woman who has been at the center of Kirk and Rasheeda's deepest marital wounds? Speculation began instantly. Was Kendra tired of watching women tear each other down while Kirk slid by unscathed? Did she have her own history with Rasheeda that viewers didn't know about? Or was this simply about just one woman recognizing that Jasmine, no matter her past, deserved a chance to speak her truth without being silenced? The questions spread like wildfire, and the footage, grainy, shaky, but undeniable, only fanned the flames. By the next morning, hashtags like hashtag Kendra vs. Rasheeda and hashtag Justice for Jasmine were trending, with fans divided straight down the middle. Some praised Kendra for daring to stand up to Rasheeda's sharp tongue, while others accused her of betraying the sisterhood. And in the middle of it all, Kirk Frost, the man whose name has fueled this storm for years, stood there without a word, his silence louder than any denial, any confession, any excuse. The room was charged with an energy no one could quite describe, like lightning waiting to strike, and in the middle of it all stood Rasheeda. Her voice sharp, her eyes locked on Jasmine. The tension between them had been building for years. Every wound from the past still raw, no matter how many apologies or explanations had been tossed around. Jasmine, dressed in a simple fitted dress that night, held her head high as if she had been preparing for this very moment. "You don't get to talk about me like that anymore," she snapped, her voice trembling but steady enough to echo over the chatter around them. The crowd hushed, every pair of eyes glued to the confrontation. Rasheeda's lips curled into a smirk, her tone dripping with venom as she shot back. "Girl, you've been trying to play victim since day one. But everybody knows you made your choices. Don't stand here and act like you're innocent." It was in that instant that Kendra, usually calm and reserved, stepped forward. She placed a hand between them, not too forceful but strong enough to demand attention. "Enough," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The entire room froze, because Kendra was not known for interruptions or inserting herself into feuds. The fact that she was siding with Jasmine was the spark that turned this night into the kind of drama fans would replay for years. Jasmine's eyes widened, surprised at the unexpected support, while Rasheeda stiffened, caught off guard by the betrayal she hadn't anticipated. Even Kirk, who had been standing off to the side, glanced at Kendra with disbelief, his jaw tightening but still offering no words. His silence was like a heavy blanket over the scene, suffocating and mysterious. "You can't keep coming at her like this, Rasheeda," Kendra continued, her tone steady but her eyes fiery. "This woman has been dragged through enough. If you got a problem, you should be looking at the man standing right there." She gestured toward Kirk, and the crowd gasped. Murmurs erupted, and phones rose higher in the air, recording every second. For years, fans had watched Rasheeda and Jasmine clash, but never before had someone else, especially another woman from their circle, called Kirk out so directly in front of everyone. Rasheeda's face hardened, her eyes darting to her husband, but still, Kirk kept his lips sealed. His silence was almost deafening, as though speaking would crack open a vault of secrets he wasn't ready to expose. Jasmine's lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but the weight of the moment kept her quiet. Her expression softened, touched by Kendra's defense, and yet there was still that unspoken fear of what this meant. Was Kendra truly on her side, or was this just another twist in the never-ending cycle of betrayals? Rasheeda, on the other hand, wasn't about to let the moment slide. She leaned forward, her voice sharp as glass. "So now you're defending her? After everything? After all the lies and the humiliation? Kendra, do you even know what she's put me through?" Kendra didn't flinch. I know enough to say she's not the only one responsible, she replied, her words slicing through the air. You keep putting the weight on her shoulders, but let's not forget who made vows, who built a family with you, and who broke that trust. You keep fighting Jasmine, but maybe the person you should be fighting is standing in your own house. The crowd erupted again, some cheering, some gasping, some whispering accusations. It felt like the floor itself was trembling beneath them. Kirk shifted uneasily, his eyes darting between the women, his silence speaking volumes. He raised a hand slightly as if to calm the storm, but no words came out, and the hesitation only added fuel to the fire. Jasmine finally found her voice, soft but cutting. I didn't ask for this, Rashida. I never wanted it to get this ugly, but I'm tired of being painted as the villain when you know the truth as well as I do. The way Jasmine's voice cracked on that last line hit the crowd hard. And even those who had sided with Rashida began to exchange glances. Was there more to the story than they realized? Had everyone been too quick to label Jasmine the enemy? Rashida clenched her fists, her chest rising and falling as though she was struggling to keep herself from exploding. Truth, she sneered. Girl, don't you dare talk about truth when you've been living off lies. You knew he was married, you knew what you were doing, and you still went through with it. Don't stand here acting like some kind of saint. The words cut Jasmine, but before she could fire back, Kendra's hand lifted again. This isn't about sainthood, she said calmly. This is about fairness. You can't keep dragging her through the mud while the man responsible just stands there, silent. That's not strength. That's cruelty. She turned her gaze on Kirk, her tone sharper now. And you, why are you so quiet? Why don't you speak up? You let these women tear each other apart while you stand back, hoping no one calls you out. Say something, Kirk. But Kirk's silence stretched on, thick and unbearable. Fans later described it as the moment the world realized the truth wasn't just about what was said, but what wasn't. His refusal to defend either side was a confession in itself, and the look in his eyes betrayed a storm of guilt he couldn't hide. Rashida's face softened for a moment, confusion flashing across her expression as if she realized that Kirk's silence was an answer she hadn't been ready to accept. Jasmine shook her head, her voice trembling as she whispered, "See, he won't even defend you. He won't defend me. He won't defend anybody." The crowd gasped again, voices rising with shock and debate, while phones buzzed as clips began to flood social media in real time. Hashtags surged, comments flooded timelines, and within minutes, fans around the world were already taking sides. Some called Kendra brave, others accused her of stirring the pot. But everyone agreed on one thing: the Frost family drama had just taken a turn no one saw coming. Rashida took a deep breath, her voice lower now but filled with rage. Kendra, you have no idea what you've just done. The air felt heavy, as though the walls themselves were closing in. Kendra didn't back down, her eyes steady as she stared at Rashida. What I've done, she said, is stop pretending that this is only Jasmine's fault. If you can't see that, then maybe it's time you ask yourself why. The room erupted once again. A mixture of cheers, arguments, and disbelief, and somewhere in the chaos, Kirk finally lowered his head, still wordless, still consumed by a silence that spoke louder than anything he could ever say. Rashida's chest rose and fell with sharp breaths, her fury barely contained, while Kendra stood her ground, unblinking, as though she had drawn a line in the sand that could not be erased. The crowd pushed in closer, people whispering and shoving to capture better angles on their phones. The flash of cameras, the constant hum of notifications buzzing from devices, it all added to the electricity in the air. Everyone knew they were witnessing history, one of those rare moments in the love and hip-hop universe that would be replayed, dissected, and turned into memes for years to come. Jasmine took a small step back, her eyes darting between Rashida and Kendra. This wasn't her fight anymore, at least not directly. For the first time in years, someone else was speaking for her, someone else was challenging the narrative, and the shock of it all left her frozen. She bit her lip, her emotions swirling, while Rashida's glare pierced through her like daggers. You think you know what you're talking about, Kendra, Rashida hissed, her voice low but lethal. But you don't live in my shoes. You don't wake up to the humiliation, the betrayal, the constant whispers behind my back. Kendra nodded, her tone measured, but her words were sharp. You're right, I don't live your life, but I see how this plays out. I see a man breaking a promise, and two women ripping each other apart while he stays in the background. And I won't stand here and let it continue like it's normal. She shifted slightly, squaring her shoulders. You want to be mad? Be mad at the person who gave you his vows, not the woman who got caught in his web. The crowd gasped again, and murmurs rose in volume. Some clapped at Kendra's boldness, others shook their heads, siding with Rashida. Kirk's face turned pale, his eyes flickering with unease. For once, he looked less like the confident businessman, less like the reality TV figure, and more like a man cornered by truths he could no longer dodge. His lips parted slightly, but again, he failed to speak. His silence was no longer just uncomfortable, it was damning. Jasmine's voice cracked as she finally spoke again. I never wanted this. You think I wanted to be hated? To be called names? To be seen as the woman who broke your marriage? She paused, her eyes filling with tears that she refused to let fall. I didn't ask for any of this. And yet every time, it's me who gets torn down, while he gets to walk away like nothing happened. She glanced at Kirk, her voice breaking. Say something. Tell her the truth. But Kirk didn't. His hand rubbed against the back of his neck. His head lowered, his silence louder than the music that had stopped playing in the background. Fans watching from afar described the moment as chilling, a kind of silence that carried more weight than an argument ever could. Rashida's hands shook as she pointed at Jasmine. Don't you dare cry. Don't you dare make yourself the victim when you knew exactly what you were doing. Her voice wavered with rage, but also something deeper: hurt, betrayal, exhaustion. Kendra stepped in again, her voice steady. Rashida, you've carried this pain for years, and I respect that, but ask yourself, what has all this fighting done? What has humiliating her over and over again brought you, except more pain? He's the one who owes you answers, not her. She pointed at Kirk now, her tone cutting. Stop hiding behind their feud. Own it. Own what you did. The crowd roared, people shouting, yes, and tell him. Some even booed Kirk for his refusal to speak. The energy had shifted. No longer was this just about Rashida and Jasmine. Now, all eyes were on Kirk, and his silence had transformed him into the villain of the night. Rashida turned to him, her voice trembling. Why won't you say anything? Do you realize what this looks like? Do you see how you're making me look right now? Kirk swallowed hard, but still nothing came. Jasmine shook her head in disbelief, whispering again, see? He won't even defend you. And for the first time Rashida's face faltered. The steel melted, replaced by something far more vulnerable. She looked at her husband as though seeing him clearly for the first time, and the devastation on her face broke the hearts of even those who had cheered her on. Phones shook as fans recording wiped their own tears, unable to believe they were watching Rashida unravel in real time. The cameras caught everything: the fury, the heartbreak, the betrayal. Kendra's voice softened, almost sympathetic. This isn't strength, Rashida. Strength isn't tearing her apart while he hides. Strength is demanding answers from the person who owes them to you. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the hum of whispers and the occasional gasp. Kirk shifted uncomfortably, his face drenched in guilt, but still his lips refused to form words. Jasmine closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek, while Rashida's fists clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. You think you know me? She finally spat at Kendra, her voice low, broken, but still carrying venom. But you don't, and you don't get to tell me how to handle my marriage. Kendra didn't flinch. Maybe not, but I know what fairness looks like. And this ain't it. The crowd erupted again, the drama reaching levels that felt almost unreal. Social media comments poured in instantly, some praising Kendra for daring to challenge Rashida, others dragging her for betraying a friend, while countless others turned their focus on Kirk's haunting silence. Fans were left divided, alliances shattered, and questions multiplying. How long could Kirk stay silent before his empire crumbled? How long could Rashida keep blaming Jasmine before the truth broke her completely? And in that moment, under the flashing lights and recording phones, the Frost family's storm reached a new height, one that promised the fallout had only just begun. The air inside that venue felt suffocating, as though every breath carried the weight of 1,000 secrets finally trying to escape. The music that had once set the mood was long gone, drowned out by the chaos, the recording phones, and the constant gasps from a crowd that could not believe what it was witnessing. Rashida's eyes remained fixed on Kirk, every flicker of emotion playing out across her face. There was anger, there was hurt, and beneath it all was exhaustion, the kind that comes from years of pretending everything was under control when it was never close. Kirk shifted, rubbing his hands together like he could somehow scrub away the judgment that surrounded him. Still, no words came. His silence felt deliberate now, not just hesitation but a strategy, a shield against the firestorm raging around him. Fans whispered in disbelief. Why won't he say anything? What's he hiding? The murmurs spread like wildfire, amplifying the already unbearable tension. Rashida finally broke the silence. You stand there like you've got nothing to say. After everything, after all these years of me defending you, covering for you, trying to make us look solid. Her voice cracked, raw with emotion. Now, when I need you to stand up, you do nothing. The pain in her voice was undeniable, and it rippled through the crowd. Jasmine turned her face away, her own tears threatening to fall again. This wasn't the victory she wanted. It wasn't satisfaction, it was chaos. The war that had defined her life had spiraled into something uglier than even she imagined. Kendra kept her gaze steady, the only one in the room who seemed calm in the storm. Though even she knew the words she had unleashed could not be contained now. I told you, Rashida, Kendra said, her tone low but firm. You're fighting the wrong battle. You keep going after her like she's the reason your world fell apart. But look at him. He's not fighting for you. He's not even fighting for himself. Her eyes flicked to Kirk again. What are you so afraid of saying? The room fell quiet again, waiting. Kirk opened his mouth, but instead of an explanation, a bitter laugh escaped him. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to send chills down spines. Rashida's face twisted in disbelief. Are you laughing? You think this is funny? She demanded, her voice echoing across the room. Kirk shook his head, his tone tired when he finally spoke. No, it's not funny, but it's pointless. No matter what I say, it'll never be enough. You've already made up your mind. The world's already made up its mind. His voice was quiet, heavy, but it was the first sound he had made all night. And that alone sent shockwaves through the crowd. Rashida blinked, stunned into silence. Jasmine looked at him with a mix of anger and disbelief. Pointless, she repeated. You ruined lives, and you think it's pointless to explain yourself. Kendra stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. It's not pointless. It's accountability. And you're scared of it. That's why you stayed quiet. The crowd erupted again, arguments breaking out among the fans. Some defending Kirk's exhaustion, others calling him a coward. Hashtags began trending within minutes. Memes were already flooding Instagram, and Twitter debates were breaking down every second of the confrontation. In real time, the Frost drama had turned into a global spectacle. Rashida's tears finally fell. She didn't try to wipe them away. You think silence protects you? All it does is make me look like a fool. Do you know what it's like to walk into a room and see people smirking, whispering, because they know your business better than you do? She stepped closer to Kirk now, her voice shaking with rage. Do you know what it's like to love someone so much that you swallow your pride, only to realize they'd never do the same for you? Jasmine shifted uncomfortably, her own guilt bubbling to the surface. She wanted to defend herself again, but Kendra's presence kept her grounded. Instead, she whispered, I never wanted to ruin your life. The words hung heavy in the air, soft but cutting. Rashida whipped her head toward Jasmine. But you did, she snapped. And you keep acting like you didn't have a choice. Kendra interjected quickly. Enough. She's not innocent, but she's not the only guilty one here. Stop acting like she forced this all to happen. Her voice rose louder now, commanding attention. We all know who had the power in this situation. We all know who chose to betray vows. Stop rewriting the story. The crowd cheered at Kendra's words, and Jasmine's tears fell freely now. She whispered, almost to herself, finally, someone says it. Kirk's face darkened, his frustration boiling over. You all think you know everything, he said, his voice sharper now. But you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know what I've had to deal with, what I've sacrificed, what I've lost. Rashida laughed bitterly through her tears. What you've lost. Look at me, Kirk. Look at your family. We're the ones who lost everything. We're the ones who carry the shame. And you still stand here acting like the victim. The crowd erupted again, and Kirk's attempt at control slipped through his fingers. Fans online began dissecting his words instantly, accusing him of gaslighting, of playing the victim, of deflecting blame. Meanwhile, Rashida's heartbreak turned her into a symbol of resilience for some, while others called her out for blaming Jasmine instead of facing her husband's betrayal head-on. The divide was growing, not just in the room but across the entire fan base. Kendra's voice rose above the chaos again. Stop hiding behind excuses, Kirk. Be a man. Own your choices. Own what you've done to this woman you claim to love. The silence that followed was deafening. Kirk stared at Kendra, his jaw clenched, his eyes filled with anger he couldn't quite direct. For the first time, he looked cornered, like the walls were closing in and there was no escape. Jasmine wiped her tears, Rashida's chest heaved with sobs, and Kendra stood tall, unshaken. And as the cameras continued to roll, fans knew this was no longer just a fight, it was a reckoning. The Frost Empire had cracked wide open, and the fallout was only just beginning. Security tried to carve a path through the crowd, but no one wanted to move. The mixer had turned into a courtroom without a judge, and every phone raised in the air felt like a jury box. Rashida wiped her face with the back of her hand and lifted her chin. She looked like a woman who had decided that if she had to break, she would break standing up. Jasmine stood a few feet away, her shoulders tight, like she was afraid that any sudden movement would set off another explosion. Kendra held the middle ground. Calm on the surface, fire in her eyes. Kirk stood near the corner of a stage riser, body still, gaze heavy, trapped by the weight of a decision he would not make. A low ripple passed through the room as young Jock pushed through the crowd. He raised one hand to settle the noise. He did not smile. "Everybody chill," he said, his voice loud and even. "This is already past the line." He looked at his wife first. "Kendra, you good?" She nodded once. He turned to Rashida with respect. "Sis, nobody here is trying to hurt you." Then he looked at Kirk for a long, hard second. "Say something, man." Kirk stared at the floor. Jock waited, then shook his head and faced the room. "I am not taking sides," he said, even though everyone knew that was impossible. "But I will say this. We cannot keep doing this blame game when the man who could end it refuses to talk." He pointed to his friend. "You owe your wife clarity. You owe this whole family clarity. You owe Jasmine clarity. You owe yourself clarity." He paused and lowered his voice. "Standing quiet is not strength, it is fear." The room hummed. For a moment it seemed like the noise itself might pull words out of Kirk. He lifted his head, opened his mouth, then shut it again. The sound that replaced his voice was a single notification ping from somewhere in the crowd. Then another, then a string of pings and vibrations as phones lit up like a storm. People glanced at their screens and gasped. A live post was climbing by the second. A voice note, a headline that read, "The night Kirk Frost stayed silent." A shaky thumbnail showed the same room from another angle. Someone had already gone live. The comments raced upward. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high. The family was left divided. Rashida saw the flood of eyes turn to screens and her face tightened. "So that is how it is," she said. "I bleed in public and it becomes content." She looked at Jasmine. "You happy?" Jasmine shook her head at once. "No, I am not happy. I am tired," she said. "I am tired of going home and feeling like the world hates me. I am tired of you looking at me like I am a monster. I am tired of walking on eggshells while he walks on clouds." She pointed at Kirk. "He set the fire and I stood in the smoke." Kendra shifted, then stepped half a pace to block Rashida's path as she started forward. "I will not let this turn into a scene that ruins you," Kendra said softly. "You are a brand. You are a wife. You are a woman who got hurt. You are not a headline for them to eat." Rashida's eyes glistened again. "Then tell her to stop living in my shadow," she said, voice raw. "Tell her to stop popping up like a ghost I cannot bury." A voice from the back cut through the noise. "Maybe the ghost is guilt," it said. Heads turned as Carly Red pushed through, hair perfect, eyes sharp. She always arrived when the pot was already boiling. "Maybe the real ghost is the truth everybody pretends not to know," she added, pointing a lacquered finger toward Kirk. "He has more stories than we have seasons, and still we keep asking the women to carry the plot." She folded her arms and looked at Rashida. "I love you. You know I do. But this fight is a trap. You are giving him cover. You are building him a wall with your anger." "Not tonight, Carly," Rashida warned. "I am not here for show." Carly's tone softened. "Then do not give them one," she said. "Take your power back by asking the one question that matters." Not to her, to him. She looked at Kirk. "Why?" The word landed heavy. "Why?" The beginning and the end of every shattered promise. Kendra nodded. "Answer that, and this room walks out different." Jock spread his hands toward his friend. A last appeal. "Brother, talk." Kirk breathed in, then out. The whole place followed each rise and fall of his chest. He finally spoke. "I made mistakes," he said, voice level. "I thought I could manage it. I thought I could fix it without tearing everything down. I thought if I worked harder, if I provided more, it would make up for the mess." He looked at Rashida. "I did not want to lose you." He looked at Jasmine. "I did not want to lose control." He swallowed. "I was selfish." The words hung there, small compared to the damage. Rashida stared as if she could not hear what she needed inside, what she heard. "That is not an answer," she said. "That is a caption." Jasmine's lips pressed tight, then parted. "You told me you were done with everything," she said. "You told me there was a plan. Then every plan became a secret, and every secret became a scar." Kendra's voice lifted again. "So say the part you have never said out loud," she urged. "Say who you hurt. Say how you will make it right. Say what ends tonight." The room leaned in. Kirk tried to meet all the eyes on him and failed. "I hurt my wife," he said. "I hurt my family." He paused. "I hurt Jasmine." His voice thinned. "I kept the wrong things in the dark. Rashida's shoulders trembled. For a second, hope flickered, then died. You hurt me, she repeated. But did you stop? He froze. The question sliced clean. He did not answer. The quiet was a confession. The crowd groaned. A woman near the bar covered her mouth. Jock closed his eyes. Carly whispered an oath that did not reach the mic. Kendra's face fell. Jasmine stared at the floor like it could pull her under and hide her. Say it, Rashida demanded. Did you stop? Kirk's voice scraped. I tried, he said. The room broke again. Tried is not stop, Kendra said. Tried is a bridge with no other side. Jock stepped toward Kirk. Man, you cannot live in almost. Kirk flinched. The first full crack in his poise all night. The venue manager tried to lower the volume, but a chant started in the back. Accountability. It rolled forward in waves, not loud like a stadium chant, but steady enough to move the air. Phones caught it. Fans online echoed it in comments. The sound wrapped around Kirk like rope. He looked at Rashida and lifted a hand, palm open, empty. I am sorry, he said. I am sorry I kept you in a home built on half-truths. I am sorry I acted like your pain was a phase. He turned to Jasmine. I am sorry I let you carry the blame for what I created. I am sorry I was a coward. Jasmine began to cry for real, tears she could not hold back, not from pity but from relief that the weight had a voice. Rashida stood still, not blinking, as if afraid that a blink would pull her into a dream she could not wake from. You are sorry, she said, but are you done? Another knife of a question. Kirk pressed his lips together. He nodded. Yes, he said. The room did not believe him yet. The years did not believe him either. Then prove it, Kendra said. Right here, right now. Not with promises, with action. What action? Rashida asked, a bitter note creeping in. Another press release. Another apology tour. Kendra shook her head. No, with truth. She looked past the crowd to a small cluster by the DJ table. You cut the live. The man hesitated, then tapped his screen. The feed dropped. The room did not. Now talk like the cameras are off, Kendra said, and like the consequences are on. The sudden privacy, even if it was only partial, changed the air. You could feel relief in some corners and suspicion in others. The mixer doors swung again and Mama Charlene appeared with the pace of a woman who had walked through fire and made it a habit. She took in the scene with a single sweep of her eyes and headed straight for her daughter. Move back, she told the people in front of her. They moved. She reached Rashida and cupped her face. You breathing? She asked. Rashida nodded. Then we still good, Charlene said. She slid her stare to Kirk. Boy. Kirk's voice dropped. Yes ma'am. I am not your mama, she said, but I am the mother of the woman who put your last name on her back and still showed up. You have one thing to decide tonight. Will you keep making my child bleed for your pride, or will you stand with the truth and take the stitches yourself? She did not shout. She did not need to. The words walked across the room and sat on his shoulders. Jasmine stood small in the corner of the moment that had defined her for years. She looked at Charlene and waited for the blow that never came. Charlene turned her head, met Jasmine's eyes, and spoke with a calm that tasted like steel. You are not my enemy, she said. The enemy is the lie that taught you to be small and taught my daughter to carry men like furniture. Jasmine's mouth quivered. I am sorry, she whispered. I know, Charlene said, but sorry is not a future. Step out of this house if you want one. The room inhaled. The meaning was clear. Step out of this story. Step out of this man. Step out of this triangle. Kendra folded her arms and nodded once. That is what I mean by action, she said. End the triangle. End the whispers. End the back-channel texts and disappearances and coaching sessions about optics. If there are co-parenting facts, write them down. If there are boundaries, put them on paper. If there is a business tie, dissolve it. No more secret exceptions. She turned to Rashida. You do not have to forgive to be free. You have to choose. Rashida opened and closed her hands. I choose me, she said. It was not loud. It did not need to be. Something inside her straightened. She looked at Jasmine. And I choose not to fight you anymore, she added, each word weighed like gold. I choose to stop giving him cover by making you my target. Jasmine let out a sound that was almost a sob. Thank you, she said. Rashida nodded once. Thank Kendra, she said. She is the one who pulled the brakes before I drove off a cliff. Kirk drew a hard breath. I will call the lawyer tomorrow, he said. I will write what needs to be written. I will make this clean. Charlene tilted her head. Tomorrow, she said. The last refuge of a man who runs. Do it now. She pulled her phone from her purse and handed it to Kendra. Draft the text. Kendra tapped fast. She read it out. It was a message to Kirk's manager, to the family attorney, to a business partner who knew more than he should. The text asked for immediate papers that outlined boundaries, financial clarity, and a public statement that acknowledged harm without dragging names. Kendra held the screen up. "Send," she said. Kirk took the phone, looked at the words, and pressed his thumb. The whoosh came through crisp. The crowd did not cheer. This was not a victory lap. It was the start of consequences. Jock rubbed his temples and exhaled. "We are all going to feel this tomorrow," he murmured. Carly nodded. "Then let tomorrow finally be honest." She turned to Jasmine. "You need a ride or a friend. Pick one." Jasmine smiled through tears. "A friend," she said, "and a ride." Carly linked arms with her without another word. Rashida stepped away from Kirk and stood next to her mother. Kendra moved to her other side. 3 women, not in agreement about everything, but aligned about the next step. The sight rippled through the room. Fans would call it the frame that changed the season. Fans would call it the moment the story pivoted. Fans would call it the proof that when the women stopped swinging at one another, the man had to face the center. Kirk stood alone, eyes glassy, jaw set. He looked at Rashida and spoke with a voice that did not trust itself. "I will fight for us," he said. She shook her head. "Fight for you," she said. "I am done carrying that." The words did not slam. They settled, right where they needed to land. He nodded once, because there was nothing left to say that would not sound like a script. The venue began to exhale. The DJ, who had been frozen since the first shout, brought the volume up just enough to give people a path to leave. Security opened the doors wide. People walked out in clusters, whispering, debating, crying, clutching phones that would buzz with summaries and spin. The city outside felt cool and hard. The night had teeth, but it also had room to breathe. On the sidewalk, cameras found them again. Someone called Rashida's name. She paused, then turned and spoke clearly. "I am not breaking in public tonight," she said. "I am choosing direction." She took her mother's hand. Kendra stood behind her like a shield. A few feet away, Carly helped Jasmine into a car and squeezed her hand. "No more triangles," Carly said. "Make it a line. Forward." Jasmine closed her eyes and nodded. "Forward," she repeated. Inside the venue, Jock sat with Kirk for a minute after everyone left. The lights were half down, the floor sticky with footprints and spilled feelings. "You are my brother," Jock said, voice flat with truth. "I am going to tell you what I would want someone to tell me. You let the women do the hard job tonight. You let them hold the wall. You need to build one of your own now. Not to keep people out, to keep your lies in check." Kirk looked at him. "How do I start?" he asked, as if he were asking for the first time in his life. Jock shrugged. "With nothing to hide," he said. "Start with nothing to hide." Kirk stared at the blank stage. In the dim light he looked older, not in years, but in the way a tree looks after a storm, stripped of leaves, every scar visible. He picked up his jacket and stood. "I will call them again," he said. "I will go home with my truth in my hands." Jock nodded. "Do that," he said, "and if you try to fold it up and slide it under a rug, I will drag it back into the light myself." They bumped shoulders in a tired hug and walked toward the door. Outside, the night pulsed with the kind of quiet that follows a siren. The city had watched, judged, loved, hated, and in some strange way, hoped. Fans were still typing. Fans were still arguing. Fans were still divided. But something had shifted. The fight had turned into a choice. The women had chosen. The man had been told to choose. The family's future would not be decided by a scream, but by a document, a plan, and a different kind of promise. A car idled near the curb. Rashida stood by it, speaking low with her mother. Kendra approached. "I will check in the morning," she said. "We will do it step by step." Rashida nodded. "Thank you," she said, simple and full. Kendra gave a small smile. "I did not do this for a thank you," she said. "I did it because a pattern needed to end." She glanced down the block where Jasmine's car had gone. "For all of us." Rashida looked back at the venue door, at the shadow of the life she had been performing for years. "I want a new pattern," she said. "One where I am not the last person to know what is happening in my own story." Kendra squeezed her hand. "Then write it," she said. "You have the pen." They got in the car. The door closed with a soft thud that sounded like a period. The driver pulled away, and the taillights slid into the river of red that lined the street. Behind them, the venue sign flickered and went dark. Somewhere across town, Jasmine stared out of a passenger window and let herself cry in quiet. Not from shame, not from fear, but from the first clean breath she had taken in years. She opened her phone, scrolled past 1,000 notifications, and deleted a thread with a name she had long kept at the top. She pressed delete and did not undo it. Her chest hurt. Her chest felt light. Both things could be true. She placed the phone face down and leaned her head back. Forward, she thought, not as a wish as a rule. Back at home, Kirk walked into a silent living room and did not turn on a single light. He sat at the table and placed his phone in the middle like an object under a lamp that was not there. He called the lawyer. He called the manager. He called himself to account. A calendar filled. A boundary took shape. A headline formed that was not meant for the blogs. It was meant for the people he had broken. I will do this now. Not once. Not almost. Now. The night ended with 3 different prayers spoken in 3 different rooms. A mother asked for strength for a daughter. A woman asked for the courage to remain firm. Another woman asked for the courage to remain gone. A man asked to become the kind of man who did not need to be asked at all. The city listened without answering. The answers would come in the morning, through signatures and statements and silence that no longer hid anything. Fans would wake to clips and threads and recaps that tried to make sense of the mess. Some would call Kendra a hero. Some would accuse her of betrayal. Some would say Jasmine did not deserve mercy. Others would say, mercy is not earned. Many would say Rashida had finally chosen herself. Most would agree that Kirk had run out of space to hide. All would keep watching, because that is what fans do. They watch. They judge. They hope. And sometimes, when the story turns, they learn. The night drew its curtain. The stage remained. The next act waited for light. The morning sun hit Atlanta like a spotlight. And the entire city seemed to wake up buzzing with the aftermath of the night before. Every blog, every gossip page, every fan account had clips stitched together. Angles replayed in slow motion, and captions screaming in bold letters. Kendra defends Jasmine against Rasheeda Kirk, silent. The footage had gone viral faster than anyone could blink. On Twitter, hashtags fought for dominance. Hashtag Team Rasheeda. Hashtag Justice for Jasmine. Hashtag Kendra the Mediator. Hashtag Kirk Explain. Instagram Reels looped the exact moment Kendra stepped between Rashida and Jasmine. Her hand raised like a referee, while TikTok flooded with reenactments, memes, and fan edits. In one video, a fan had layered dramatic music over Kirk's silence, adding subtitles that read, "The silence was louder than the lies." Another clip froze on Rashida's tearful face, with captions like "The Queen deserves better." By breakfast, millions had watched, shared, and picked their sides, and the Frost family's chaos had become the world's entertainment. Inside her house, Rashida scrolled through her phone with shaking hands. Each notification made her chest ache. Messages from family members poured in, some supportive, some urging her to leave Kirk, others begging her to stay strong. Her boutique staff texted her too, reminding her that customers were already calling, asking if she would make a statement. The brand that she had built with sweat and tears was suddenly tangled in her marriage's mess. And that was a wound she had not expected. Mama Charlene sat across the table, sipping her coffee with a calm Rashida envied. "Baby girl," Charlene said, her tone steady. "You do not need to answer them today. Let them talk. Let the dust settle. You take care of you first." Rashida nodded but kept scrolling. She landed on a clip of Kendra speaking, pointing directly at Kirk, and her eyes watered again. "She was right," Rashida whispered. "She said everything I wanted to say, but I couldn't." "Why couldn't I?" Charlene leaned forward. "Because you were carrying too much. You've been carrying this man, his mistakes, his silence, and the way people look at you. You are tired, child. And when you're tired, sometimes somebody else gotta speak for you. Don't make that weakness. That's strength." Meanwhile, Jasmine sat in her apartment across town, her emotions a swirl of relief, guilt, and exhaustion. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Rashida's face, furious, broken, unrelenting. Then she saw Kendra stepping in, her shield against years of humiliation. Jasmine's phone buzzed nonstop. Some messages were cruel, filled with insults she had grown used to, but some were different. Strangers wrote things like, "We see your side now, and maybe you aren't the villain after all." For the first time in years, Jasmine felt like she wasn't standing completely alone. Kendra and Jock were together in their living room, watching the news recap. Jock shook his head, rubbing his temples. "Babe, you really flipped the whole show upside down. People already calling you the hero, the villain, the peacekeeper, the traitor, everything at once." Kendra crossed her arms. "I don't care what they call me. What I did needed to be done. I wasn't about to stand by and watch another season of women clawing at each other while Kirk sat quiet. Somebody had to say it. Somebody had to drag the truth out." Jock nodded, his tone thoughtful. "Yeah, but you know what comes next. This ain't the end of it. Rashida gone, feel betrayed. Jasmine gone, lean on you now. Kirk gone, hate you for putting him on blast. You ready for that heat?" Kendra's eyes stayed steady. "I've been ready. I didn't marry you to sit on the sidelines. I know what I stand for, and if that makes me the bad guy to some, so be it. As the city buzzed, Kirk sat in his studio, his phone face down on the mixing board. His manager called twice, his lawyer 3 times, but he hadn't picked up. The silence that had once shielded him now wrapped around his neck like a noose. Every headline, every comment, every meme reminded him that his inaction had become the story. He thought about Rashida's trembling voice, about Jasmine's broken whisper, about Kendra's fury. He thought about how the women in his life had been left to carry the battles he should have fought. Finally, he picked up his phone. He opened a blank note and started typing. At first, it was excuses, half-hearted phrases he thought would sound good in a statement. But then he stopped, deleted it all, and sat in silence again. A single thought haunted him. What if this time, sorry isn't enough? Later that afternoon, a production team member from Love and Hip Hop leaked a clip to a gossip blogger. It was behind-the-scenes audio from the night before. You could hear Kirk's voice, low and raw, whispering to someone off camera. I tried to stop. I really did, but I couldn't let go. The audio spread like wildfire. Fans speculated endlessly. Was he admitting to more affairs? Was he still entangled with Jasmine, or someone new? The theories multiplied until no one knew what to believe. Rashida saw the clip and nearly threw her phone across the room. I cannot do this again, she cried, her hands covering her face. Mama Charlene pulled her into an embrace. Then don't, she said simply. You don't owe him another chance to break you. Jasmine saw it too, and for the first time, she felt anger not at Rashida, not at the fans, but at Kirk. She slammed her phone down. I was stupid to believe he cared about me at all, she whispered to herself. He didn't love me. He loved control. By evening, a storm had gathered over the Frost family that no one could contain. Fans demanded answers. Castmates whispered about choosing sides. Producers salivated at the ratings gold. But in the center of it all, 3 women stood at a crossroads: Rashida with her heartbreak, Jasmine with her fragile relief, and Kendra with her fiery conviction. And Kirk. Kirk was finally out of places to hide. Rashida arrived home before sunset and found the house too neat, like a set struck for a scene that was never filmed. The smell of lemon cleaner sat in the hall. She dropped her bag on the console and stared at the family photos lined up like witnesses. In the first frame she was laughing with Kirk at a barbecue. In the second they were dressed for a gala. In the third she was alone, modeling a new boutique dress in the mirror, her smile careful. She reached out and straightened the middle frame as if that could straighten the past. Kirk's key turned in the lock. The sound landed like a verdict. He stepped inside, paused when he saw her waiting, and closed the door with a quiet click that pretended to be gentle. She did not move. We will not do circles, she said. We will not do half answers. Sit. He obeyed, his shoulders tight, his hands clasped. She remained standing, because she did not want to meet him halfway, even by accident. People keep calling me strong, she began. Today I do not feel strong. I feel tired. So this will be simple. Are there any ties I do not know about anymore? Any accounts? Any contracts? Any leases? He winced at the last word like it had touched a live wire. She noticed. A lease, she repeated. Say it. He rubbed a palm over his jaw. There was a place, he said. Short term. It is gone. She waited. For a project, he added. A writing room. A place to get ideas down. She stared until the silence peeled the varnish off the sentence. Who had keys? She asked. Me and the manager, he said, then hesitated. And a videographer sometimes. Her breath thinned. Jasmine, she said. Not as a question. She did not live there. He said quickly. She came by twice to talk through a brand idea. I told myself it was business. I never signed her name. I ended it weeks ago. She tilted her head. Weeks? Which weeks? He named dates. They were after a reconciliation they had sold to fans. The word weeks became the loudest thing in the room. You told me you were done, she said. You looked me in the face and you asked me to help you rebuild the trust you burned. And you were paying rent. He reached for her hand and she stepped back. I was wrong, he said. I have been wrong. I kept thinking I could untie one knot without pulling others. She let the sentence fall to the floor. Show me the paperwork, she said. He opened his phone, forwarded the lease termination, the email chain, the receipts. She read them like a detective, circling dates with her finger. You will send this to my attorney, she said. You will include a letter that states, I did not know. He nodded. Yes. And you will write to the videographer, she added. And say all materials from that space must be delivered to my counsel, not to your manager. To me, no cuts, no edits. He nodded again. His yes sounded smaller each time. Her phone buzzed. A text from Kendra. You good? Need anything? She typed back, I am doing it step by step. Thank you. Then she set the phone face down and looked at her husband. If there is one more surprise, she said, I will not announce a separation on camera. I will do it in court and let the show discover it like everybody else. He swallowed hard. There will not be another, he said. I will check, she replied. Every account, every file, every cloud. This is not paranoia. This is self-defense. He nodded. Open them, he said, sliding his phone across the coffee table like an offering. She did not touch it. I will wait for logins from the attorney, she said. We will not do this on Trust tonight. Trust has the night off. Across town, Jasmine sat at a small kitchen table with a yellow pad, a pen, and a cup of tea that had gone cold. Carly leaned on the counter, tapping through messages, swatting away trolls. Sending a few surgical replies that drew more likes than hate. You want me to draft something? Carly asked. Jasmine nodded, then shook her head. No, she said. It has to be my voice. I have never once used my voice right. She drew a line at the top of the paper. Statement. She wrote slowly, moving like a person relearning her handwriting. I am not a victim and I am not a villain. I made choices that hurt people I respect. I will not keep repeating those choices. Co-parenting matters will be handled through counsel. I will not speak on his marriage again. She stared at the last line for a long time. You sure? Carly asked gently. Because the blogs will bait you. Jasmine set the pen down. They can bait the old me, she said. I cannot live there anymore. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed a name she had not expected. Young Jock, she answered, voice steady. Hey, Jock. He cleared his throat. Just calling to check on you, he said. Not to fish. Not to stir. Kendra asked me to make sure you are not sitting alone with a storm. Jasmine smiled at the thought. Tell your wife I am alive, she said. Tell her she gave me a spine last night. Jock chuckled. She will say it was already there, he said. She just polished it. His tone softened. Look, the show will try to turn this into a carousel. You do not have to get on. If you make a statement, keep it short, keep it clean, and then go dark. The room calms faster when it has less oxygen. I am learning that, she said. They hung up. Carly shot her a thumbs up and started a grocery order because no crisis runs on an empty pantry. At Kendra's house, the backlash arrived on schedule. A producer left a message dripping with concern that sounded like greed dressed as care. A castmate sent a paragraph accusing her of choosing Jasmine over sisterhood. Comment sections called her everything from brave to meddlesome to calculated. Jock watched her read and felt his jaw set in protective anger. You do not owe them anything, he said. I know, she replied. But I owe the truth a seat at the table. She opened a voice memo app and began to rehearse a clear, calm statement. No theatrics. No shout. Just a woman who had seen a cycle and refused to spin with it. She recorded, listened back, cut the sharpest edges, and pressed save. Her phone lit with a FaceTime from Yandi, who had seen the clips from New York and had the same expression every time people forgot that women could stand together without agreeing on everything. You caused an earthquake, Yandi said, half proud, half worried. Are you ready for the aftershocks? Kendra nodded. They can shake, she said. I am stuck to the ground. Yandi laughed softly. Call me if you need a shield, she said. I have one in every color. They hung up with that small relief that comes from a friend who understands the cost of a stand. By dusk, the production office was a hive. Whiteboards filled with arrows and names. Editors cut last night's footage into 3 different arcs, each more dramatic than the last. Ratings projections sat on a desk like a candy jar. In a corner, an associate producer replayed leaked audio and told herself she felt bad before she sent a new clip to a blogger. The machine wanted what it always wants. More. That night, Kendra drove to Rashida's with Jock. They brought calm like people bring soup. Mama Charlene opened the door, saw them, and stepped aside. In the living room, the coffee table was a small courtroom again, but this time the judge was a folder of printed emails and a notepad with bullet points written in neat, dark ink. Rashida looked composed in a way that made everyone else sit straighter. We are doing a timetable, she said. Public statement tomorrow. Legal letters by 10. Boundaries list by noon. A meeting with co-parenting counsel by Wednesday. I am not letting this float. Kendra nodded. I drafted a simple line you can use, she said. You do not owe details. You owe the truth you choose. She read it aloud. My family is reorganizing in private with professional guidance. I will not be engaging in speculation. Respect our process. It had no spice for the blogs to suck on. It had spine. Kirk stepped out from the hallway. He had the careful look of a man who knew any wrong move would set off an alarm. I sent the logins, he said. I told the manager to stand down. I told the videographer to deliver everything. Rashida nodded, not as a reward but as an acknowledgement that a request had been met. Sit, she said. Listen. Kendra went through the plan in a low, crisp tone. There will be no side conversations, she said. No off-camera redemptions. No secret reconciliations that become story beats later. If there is a healing, it will be documented in therapy, not in confession. If there is a separation, it will be documented in filings, not in Instagram captions. The show can follow the truth, or it can air something else. Either way, your life will not serve the edit. Kirk leaned forward. What do I say to the audience? He asked. Nothing, Rashida answered. You say things to your children. You say things to me through counsel. You say things to yourself in a mirror. The audience can wait. He winced but nodded. Jock exhaled. I wish more men heard that sooner, he said. I wish I had. The room fell quiet in a way that felt healthy. Like a clinic where wounds were being cleaned rather than a club where they were displayed. At the same hour, Jasmine and Carly finished the statement. Jasmine read it aloud twice, with her hand steady over the post button. After I send this, she said, I am deleting the app from my phone for a week. Carly grinned. A week in this industry is a sabbatical, she said. Take 2. Jasmine pressed post, turned the phone off, slid it into a drawer, and locked the drawer. She put the key on top, looked at it, and left it there. Minutes later, fans were shocked by the tone. It was blunt without theatrics, contrite without groveling. Emotions ran high in the comments, but the heat did not find a spark. The family was left divided in the threads. Yet the arguments felt smaller against the scale of a woman who had finally chosen quiet over noise. A popular fan page posted, This is the first time I have seen an LHH statement read like a boundary, not a promo. It went viral for being sensible. That alone felt like a twist. Then a new twist hit. The blogger who had been spoon-fed clips all afternoon published a screen recording of an email from a burner account with a subject line that read, It did not end weeks ago. The body contained a date-stamped photo of a key in a palm and a lock with a unit number. The metadata suggested it had been taken after the timeline. Kirk admitted. The post exploded. Commenters screamed gotcha. Others called it a fake. Conspiracy threads bloomed like algae. Within 15 minutes, the blogger posted an update. The burner had replied again with a short message. Ask the building manager for the visitor log. It will match the date. Kendra's phone lit up. Jock's did too. So did Rashida's. Kirk closed his eyes like a man bracing for a second wave when the first had barely receded. If this is real, Rashida said evenly, you will not sleep here tonight. He swallowed. I understand. Kendra stood. I will go, she said. Not to fight. To verify. Jock rose with her. You are not walking into any building lobby alone, he said. Rashida nodded. Bring back truth, she said. I can survive truth. I cannot survive guessing. They reached the mid-rise in a quiet stretch of downtown that pretended to be anonymous. The night manager was a woman with sharp eyes who recognized them at once and tried to decide between starstruck and Stonewall. Kendra placed a business card on the counter, then placed a second card that belonged to a well-known attorney. We need to confirm a visitor log for a specific date, she said. We will not record. We will not publish your name. We want to end a story, not feed it. The manager hesitated, glanced at the attorney's card, and tapped her keyboard. She read the screen, inhaled, and pivoted it just enough for Kendra to see the list. There it was. A first name that matched. A timestamp that cut through the alibi. A second name that did not belong to Jasmine at all, which turned the air in the lobby into a different temperature. Kendra's eyes narrowed. The second name was a stylist who sometimes worked set. Jock saw it too. So that is the new shape of the mess, he said quietly. Back at the house, Kendra placed the printout on Rashida's table. It was not Jasmine, she said, but the date is real. The information landed with a dull thud that was part relief, part new anger. So I have been fighting the wrong woman twice, Rashida said, her voice low. And the man who swore he had stopped did not even have the decency to keep his lies consistent. She stood, calm in a way that was no longer numb. It was focus. You will leave tonight, she told Kirk. You will have counsel call mine at 8. You will not contact me directly. You will not contact any woman connected to this house. I am done digging for honesty in a sandbox. He tried to speak and found nothing that sounded like a sentence a grown man should say. He rose, picked up a small overnight bag he had packed earlier in a show of wisdom that came too late, and walked to the door. He paused, looking back, not for mercy, but for a last look at a world that was closing its gate. I am sorry, he said again. It did not hurt her like before. It did not help either. The door closed. Past midnight, the city quieted. The blogs buzzed. Fans argued. Clips stacked, but the center felt less like a circus and more like a clinic again. In her room, Rashida texted Kendra. "Thank you for walking me to the line." Kendra replied. "You walked yourself across it." In her apartment, Jasmine lay on her side and felt the old ache, looking for a way back. She told it no without saying it out loud. She pictured a small apartment in a different part of the city with light in the mornings and a plant that did not die. Somewhere downtown, a stylist put her phone face down and stared at a ceiling she had earned by easy choices. In a hotel room, Kirk sat at a desk and wrote a list of names he owed apologies to. He left 2 blank spaces at the top, because another sorry would not fit there anymore. Morning would bring statements and contracts and a clean calendar where certain meetings had lived for too long. Morning would bring more noise, because that is what the world delivers when a family redraws its map. But morning would also bring something none of them had felt in years. A direction that pointed away from the triangle and toward the hard road that looked like order. And somewhere inside that road, there was a chance that people who had been characters in their own story could become authors again. By sunrise, the whole city was already awake to the sound of commentary. Radio hosts picked sides. Bloggers streamed live in their cars. Podcasts dropped emergency episodes with titles like "The Night Kirk Lost His Voice" and "Kendra the Game Changer." Even people outside the love and hip-hop universe were talking. A morning anchor on a mainstream network casually mentioned the clip during an entertainment segment, shaking her head with a smirk. When your silence says more than your words ever could. Rashida sat at her kitchen table with a mug of coffee gone cold again. The papers Kendra had helped her organize were stacked neatly in front of her: legal drafts, schedules, emails, receipts. She had not slept more than 2 hours. Her body felt drained, but her mind was sharper than it had been in years. Mama Charlene shuffled in, adjusting her robe, and placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You holding it together?" she asked softly. Rashida nodded. "I'm holding it. I don't know if I'm healing it, but I'm holding it." Her phone buzzed with a call from production. She let it ring. Another buzz followed, this time, a text from Kendra. "Statement ready. You want me to post first?" Rashida typed back. "Yes, post yours. I'll follow later." Across town, Kendra set up her phone on a tripod in the living room. She wore no heavy makeup, no flashy outfit, just a simple shirt and clear eyes. Jock sat off camera, giving her a nod of support. She pressed record and spoke. "Last night I stepped into something I couldn't watch anymore. I didn't do it for drama. I did it because I believe in fairness, even when it hurts. This isn't about picking one woman over another. It's about holding the right person accountable. People can spin it how they want, but I stand by what I said. I won't fight online debates. I won't clap back at insults. I've said my piece. Now the rest is for the people involved to figure out." She ended the video there, short, steady, final. She posted it, set the phone down, and leaned into Jock's chest with a sigh. "It's out there now," she said. "No going back." Jock kissed her forehead. "You never needed to go back anyway." Meanwhile, Jasmine sat with Carly at a cafe, both of them in sunglasses even though they were indoors. Jasmine had her hood pulled up, trying to blend in, though half the room had already recognized her. The waiter kept sneaking glances, whispering to a coworker. Jasmine pulled her hood tighter. "I should have stayed home," she muttered. Carly shook her head. "No, you needed air. You needed to be seen alive and not hiding." Jasmine stirred her tea and exhaled. "It's like I finally got my voice back, but I don't know how to use it without hurting somebody else again." Carly squeezed her hand. "Then use it for you. Not for him, not for her, just for you." As they talked, Jasmine's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You don't know the whole story. Meet me tonight. Parking lot behind the studio. Midnight." Jasmine's breath caught. She showed it to Carly. "This feels like a trap," Carly said instantly. Jasmine frowned. "But what if it's something I need to know? What if it's the rest of the truth?" Carly leaned back, arms crossed. "Then we don't go alone." Back at the Frost house, Kirk sat in a guest room, staring at the ceiling. His bags were packed but still on the floor. The lawyer had already confirmed the visitor logs from the downtown building. There was no denying it anymore. The second name on the list, the stylist, had texted him that morning. "They know. I can't protect you anymore." He deleted the message and buried his face in his hands. Every attempt to stay quiet had now turned into proof of guilt. Every secret became a headline before he even admitted it. He thought about walking out, disappearing for a while. Maybe heading out of the city. But the reality was heavy. No matter where he went, the story would follow. Rashida stepped into the room, holding a folder. Her voice was calm, almost businesslike. Here are the accounts. My lawyer froze this morning. You'll get copies. She placed the folder on the nightstand. Kirk sat up, startled. You froze accounts? She nodded. Yes. The ones tied to the boutique, the joint deals, the properties. Until we know exactly what's clean, nothing moves. He opened his mouth to argue, then shut it again. Rashida's eyes hardened. I told you last night. I'm not bleeding in public anymore. I'm restructuring, with or without you. Later that evening, as the city prepared for another storm of gossip, Kendra received a call from Carly. Something's up, Carly said. Jasmine got a message. Sounds shady. I don't trust it. Kendra listened, then said firmly, she's not going there alone. I'll meet you. Jock frowned when he heard, but Kendra shook her head. If this is more dirt, better to know it now than have it spill later in the worst way. Midnight came. The parking lot behind the studio was dim, lit only by a flickering streetlight. Jasmine stood between Carly and Kendra, her arms wrapped tight around herself. They waited. A car pulled up slowly, headlights cutting across the pavement, then switched off. The driver's door opened. Out stepped the stylist, the same woman from the visitor logs. She looked nervous, clutching a folder to her chest. I can't keep this anymore, the stylist said, voice shaking. I thought it was just work. I thought I was just helping with projects, but I saw too much. And if I don't give this up, it's gonna come back on me. She handed the folder to Kendra, then backed away quickly. Don't tell him it was me, she pleaded. I don't want his mess to kill my career. Then she jumped back into her car and drove off. Kendra opened the folder under the dim light. Inside were receipts, photos, and messages, proof that Kirk's entanglements hadn't just involved Jasmine, but others too. Overlapping timelines, overlapping lies. The documents painted a story uglier than anyone had prepared for. Jasmine gasped, covering her mouth. Carly muttered, Lord, this is about to set the city on fire. Kendra closed the folder, her jaw tight. This changes everything, she said. It's no longer just about Jasmine and Rashida. It's about a pattern that never ended. Jasmine's eyes filled with tears again, but this time not from guilt, this time from relief. So it wasn't just me, she whispered. I wasn't crazy. The three women stood in the parking lot, the folder heavy in Kendra's hands, knowing that the fallout from what they held would shake every corner of their lives. And somewhere across town, Kirk stared out of a hotel window, unaware that the walls around him were already collapsing. The folder sat heavy on Kendra's lap as she and the others drove through the quiet streets. Carly kept glancing back from the passenger seat, whispering like the papers inside could hear them. Jasmine sat in the back beside Kendra, arms crossed, staring out the window, her reflection pale against the glass. Nobody played music. The only sound was the hum of the car. Every mile bringing them closer to the decision they all knew was coming: what to do with the truth. When they pulled into Rashida's driveway, the house was dark except for the kitchen light. Mama Charlene was sitting at the table, hands folded, as if she had been waiting for them all along. Rashida stood behind her, arms wrapped tightly across her chest, her face unreadable. She looked at the folder when Kendra set it down. She didn't touch it. What's in there? She asked, her tone low but sharp. Proof, Kendra answered. More than Jasmine. More than one mistake. A pattern? She slid the folder forward. Rashida hesitated, then flipped it open. The papers rustled like whispers. Receipts for dinners out of town. Photos of Kirk with women at events he never mentioned. Messages where promises overlapped and excuses blurred. It was a map of betrayal, years long, branching out in directions no one wanted to follow. Rashida's hands trembled, but she kept turning the pages. Jasmine's chest rose and fell fast, like she was reliving every rumor she had ever been blamed for. Carly leaned over her shoulder, eyes wide. Oh my God, she muttered. He wasn't even sloppy. He was comfortable. Finally, Rashida slammed the folder shut. The sound echoed through the room. Her eyes were glassy, but her voice was steady. I thought the worst thing was knowing, she said. Turns out the worst thing was not knowing how deep it went. She pushed the folder away like it was poison. He made a fool of me in front of the world, and now I see he was laughing behind my back the whole time. Jasmine swallowed hard, her voice cracking. I swear, I didn't know about any of that. I thought it was just me. I thought I was the mistake. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them. I can't take the blame for all of this anymore. Rashida stared at her for a long moment. You weren't the only one, she said quietly, but you were the one standing in my house while he smiled in my face. Jasmine nodded, accepting the blow, no defense left in her. Kendra leaned forward. What matters now is what we do with this, because once this gets out, there's no putting it back. Mama Charlene finally spoke, her voice calm and deep. "Baby girl," she said to Rashida, "you got two choices. You can bury it, keep carrying his weight, and hope he changes, or you can set it down and let him carry it himself. You decide if you want to be his shield, or if you want to be free." The room went silent. Rashida's tears finally fell, but she wiped them quickly. "I'm not protecting him anymore," she said. Her voice broke, but her resolve did not. He built this mess. Let him live in it. The decision hung in the air like thunder waiting to crack. Across town, Kirk sat in his hotel room, scrolling through social media. He saw memes mocking his silence, split-screen clips of Rashida crying and Kendra pointing at him. Hashtags that made his name trend for all the wrong reasons. He poured himself a drink and stared at the ceiling. His phone buzzed with a message from his manager. "You need to control the narrative before it's too late." Kirk tossed the phone aside. Control. That word had been his downfall. By morning, the folder's contents were already leaking. The stylist who had delivered it must have tipped someone else, or maybe one of the women had trusted the wrong person. Screenshots appeared on blogs, red circles highlighting Kirk's name, timestamps, flirtatious lines in texts. Headlines screamed. Kirk Frost's web of lies. Jasmine wasn't the only one. Fans went wild. "We knew it," they tweeted. "This man's been living a double life for years." At the boutique, Rashida walked in with her head high. Her staff went quiet, unsure what to say. She set her bag down, adjusted a display, and turned to them. "We open on time, we serve our customers, and we don't answer one question about last night." "Got it," they nodded quickly. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that says a storm may rage outside but in here, order would stand. Jasmine, meanwhile, posted nothing. Her silence became its own statement. For once, she wasn't defending, denying, or explaining. She was simply absent from the noise. And oddly enough, fans started to respect her for it. "Maybe she's finally done with the circus." One tweet read, "Let Rashida and Kendra handle him now." But Kendra became the lightning rod. Producers called non-stop, begging her to film confession. Bloggers praised her as the truth teller. Trolls accused her of clout chasing. Even Yandy sent her a DM. "Sis, the way you shook the table. I felt it up here in New York." Kendra shook her head at the chaos. "All I did was say what needed to be said," she muttered to Jock. He kissed her cheek. "Yeah," he said, "but not everybody's ready for the truth when it shows up in heels." The day rolled on, tension thickening with every new headline. By evening, Kirk couldn't take the hotel walls anymore. He drove to the Frost house, folder of flowers in hand, hoping the gesture would soften what words could not. But when he knocked, it was Mama Charlene who opened the door. She looked at the flowers, then at him, and shook her head. "We don't need flowers," she said. "We need freedom." She closed the door slowly, leaving him standing there, bouquet drooping in his hands. The cameras might not have been rolling, but the story was alive, raw, and unstoppable. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high. And the family was left divided only now. The cracks were no longer hidden. They were out in the open, jagged and permanent. The flowers wilted in Kirk's grip as he stood on the porch, shut out by the slow, deliberate slam of the door. He stared at the wood, his mind racing, but no words came. For the first time in years, he was powerless, not because someone was yelling at him, not because of a scandal on the blogs, but because silence had turned into a wall he could not climb. He dropped the bouquet on the step, got back in his car, and drove away with headlights cutting through the night like knives. Inside, Rashida sat at the kitchen table with Mama Charlene and Kendra. The folder still lay open in front of them, its papers scattered like pieces of a broken mirror. Rashida rubbed her temples. "They're going to twist this into 10 different storylines," she said, her voice low. "Every blog, every show, every cast member is going to have an opinion. And the only one who hasn't spoken yet is me." Kendra leaned forward. "Then speak," she said. "Not for them. For you. Make the story yours before they make it for you." Mama Charlene nodded. "Baby girl, when you stand up there, don't cry for them, don't shout for them. Tell the truth plain. That's the thing they can't twist." Rashida exhaled slowly. She picked up her phone, scrolled past dozens of messages, and opened her Instagram app. Her fingers hovered over the Go Live button. She had gone live plenty of times before her boutique, for fun, for fans, but never like this. Never with her marriage hanging in the balance. Never with millions waiting to see if she would finally break. She pressed the button. The screen lit up. Comments poured in instantly. "She's on. Queen. Say it all. Sis." Rashida looked straight into the camera, her eyes steady, her voice calm. "I've been quiet for a long time," she began. "I thought protecting my family meant swallowing my hurt and hiding my truth. But last night, the world saw me bleed. You saw me cry. You saw me betrayed. And I'm not ashamed of that, because pain is real. But I am done carrying it in silence. The comments exploded, heart emojis, clapping hands, crying faces. Rashida continued, her tone sharp now. This isn't about tearing down another woman. This isn't about Jasmine, or any other name you've seen in the blogs. This is about a man who broke vows and left women to fight battles he created. I won't do it anymore. I won't let my story be rewritten as a triangle, when the truth is a pattern. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. I love my family. I love my children. But I will not lose myself to protect someone else's lies. From this day on, I choose me. One, choose honesty. I choose peace. And if that means the end of what people thought was the perfect picture, so be it. At least it will be real. The comments section exploded again, fans posting "We love you, Rashida," and finally free. The live peaked at over 200,000 viewers before she ended it with a simple line, "Pray for strength, not for drama." Across town, Jasmine watched the live from her couch. She felt a rush of emotions, relief, guilt, respect. For years, she had been the scapegoat, the other woman. Now, Rashida hadn't excused her, but she had finally shifted the spotlight where it belonged. Jasmine closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "Thank you." Then she picked up her phone and called her mother. "I'm leaving Atlanta for a while," she said. "I need to start over." Her mother's voice was quiet but firm. "Then do it. You've been living in someone else's story too long." Jasmine nodded through tears. "I want to be more than his mistake." Meanwhile, the cast group chat lit up. Carly, Yandi, Sierra, even Scrappy all typing, sending links, reacting to Rashida's live. Most were supportive, but a few threw shade, hinting that Rashida was playing the victim for publicity. The divide grew deeper, setting the stage for an inevitable on-camera explosion. And in the shadows, Kirk scrolled through Rashida's live on his phone, his face pale. Every word she had spoken cut him open. But what hurt most wasn't the anger, it was the calm. She wasn't screaming anymore. She wasn't begging. She was done. For Kirk, that silence was the loudest sound he had ever heard. The next day, producers arranged a mandatory cast meeting. Damage control, they called it. But everyone knew it would be a battlefield. When the cast gathered in the lounge, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Cameras rolled, lights blazed, and the director whispered, "We're live." Rashida sat on one side, her posture regal. Kendra sat beside her, calm but ready. Jasmine was there too, unexpectedly, her expression nervous but determined. On the other side, Kirk sat alone, shoulders slumped. The room buzzed with whispers until Carly broke the silence. "So this is it, huh? The family divided. The fans divided. The city divided." She looked around dramatically. And all because one man couldn't keep his vows. The room erupted, voices shouting, accusations flying, fans online commenting in real time. Some defended Rashida, some blamed Jasmine, some even tried to shield Kirk. But through it all, Rashida's voice rose above the noise. "This is not about blame anymore," she said firmly. "This is about breaking a cycle. I'm not here to fight Jasmine. I'm not here to fight any woman in this room. I'm here to tell the truth. And the truth is, I'm done being silent." The cameras zoomed in, capturing every tear, every glare, every whispered aside. Fans would later call it the most explosive episode in years. And when it aired, the tagline would flash across the screen. "The night's silence broke the family apart." Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high, and the Frost legacy stood at the edge of collapse. The cast meeting began under the glare of studio lights that felt hotter than the Georgia sun. The production team had arranged the seating like a courtroom. Rashida, Kendra, and Jasmine on one side, Kirk isolated on the other, with Carly, Sierra, Scrappy, and Yandi filling the gaps like spectators ready to choose sides. The cameras hummed, every angle covered, as if they knew history was about to be made. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was almost theatrical. Then Carly leaned back in her chair and said, "So what now? We just sit here and pretend like this man didn't get exposed twice in 1 week." Her voice dripped with sarcasm, and the room erupted in murmurs. Kirk's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet, staring at the floor. Rashida finally broke the stillness. Her tone was calm, but her words carried steel. "I didn't come here to scream. I didn't come here to drag anybody. I came here to tell the truth. Last night, I went live because I needed people to hear from me, not from the blogs. And now, in this room, I'm going to say it again. I'm done protecting lies." She turned to Kirk, her eyes sharp. "Your silence used to be my shield, but now it's your weapon, and I won't be cut by it anymore." Gasps rippled across the room. Yandi leaned forward, nodding, clearly moved. Sierra whispered to Scrappy, "She's finally breaking free." Scrappy muttered back, "'Bout damn time." Kendra's voice rose next. "And let's be clear, it wasn't just Jasmine." The folder showed more. This wasn't a mistake. It was a lifestyle. She pulled the folder from her bag, slapped it on the table, and slid it toward the middle. The receipts don't lie. The visitor logs don't lie. The women in those texts don't lie. The only person who keeps lying is sitting right there. She pointed straight at Kirk. All eyes turned to him. For the first time, the silence wasn't protective, it was suffocating. The cameras zoomed in on his face, catching every twitch, every bead of sweat. Kirk finally lifted his head. His voice was low but carried across the room. "You think this is easy for me? You think I wanted any of this? I made mistakes. Yeah, but every man in this room has made mistakes. Why am I the one crucified?" Jock shifted uncomfortably but stayed quiet. Scrappy raised his eyebrows, then muttered, "'Cause your mistakes keep showing up with receipts." Brr. The room laughed, though the humor was bitter. Kirk glared, his frustration spilling out. "Y'all don't know what it's like being in my position. Cameras on me 24/7s. Everyone waiting for me to slip. I didn't ask for this life." Rashida's laugh was hollow. "Didn't ask for it. You begged for it. You built your name on this life. You wanted the cameras, the attention, the status, and when the truth came with it, suddenly you're the victim." She shook her head. "No, Kirk, you're not the victim. We are." The words hit like a hammer. Jasmine wiped her eyes, nodding softly. For once, she didn't speak, she let Rashida's truth carry them both. Carly leaned in, her voice cutting the tension like a blade. "So what's next, Kirk? You gonna apologize? You gonna cry for the cameras? Or you gonna sit there like a ghost while the women you hurt build your storyline?" Her tone was mocking, but the challenge was real. Kirk clenched his fists, his voice rising. "You want me to say sorry? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Rashida, to my kids, to Jasmine, to whoever else wants to line up and take a piece of my hide. But what do you want me to do? Crawl on my knees? Burn everything I built? You want me to disappear?" Rashida leaned forward, eyes blazing. "No, Kirk, I want you to tell the truth. Every truth. Not the pieces you think sound good. Not the half-answers. The truth. Because until you do, this cycle will never end." The room fell silent again. The cameras zoomed in, waiting. Kirk swallowed hard, then said the words that changed everything. "It wasn't just Jasmine. And it wasn't just the stylist. There were others. Years of others. Some you know, some you don't. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself I could keep it separate, but I was wrong. I destroyed everything I touched." Gasps erupted, the cast covering their mouths, phones buzzing in pockets as crew members whispered to each other. Yandi shook her head slowly, whispering, "Lord, he really said it." Rashida's face crumbled, but she didn't cry this time. She just nodded, her voice cold. "Thank you. That's all I ever wanted. The truth. And now that I have it, I can finally walk away." The cameras caught every word, every twitch, every tearless blink. It was raw, unfiltered, undeniable. Jasmine finally spoke, her voice trembling but steady. "So all this time, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the mistake. But I was just one of many." She looked at Rashida, her eyes full of regret. "I'm sorry, truly, for everything." Rashida met her gaze, and for the first time in years, she didn't see an enemy. She saw another woman broken by the same man. She nodded once. "I hear you." The director whispered to a cameraman, "This is gold. Don't cut." Kendra sat back, arms folded, satisfied that the truth was finally spilling out. But she knew this was only the beginning. The fallout from this revelation would spread far beyond this room. Brands, fans, family, all of it would feel the shockwaves. And then, just when the room seemed like it had hit its peak, Carly dropped the final bombshell. "Y'all think the blogs know everything? They don't. I heard from someone last night, there's another woman. And this one has proof that could ruin not just Kirk, but the whole Frost business. Bank accounts, deals, fake names." The room exploded in chaos. Rashida's eyes widened, Jasmine gasped, Kendra cursed under her breath, and Kirk's face drained of color. He stood up suddenly, knocking his chair back. "That's a lie," he barked. "That's a damn lie." Carly smirked, pulling her phone from her purse. "Then why do I have the screenshots?" She held up the screen, the glow casting a sinister light across her face. The room erupted against shouts, gasps, the crew scrambling to catch every angle. For the first time, Kirk looked truly terrified, not guilty, not frustrated, and the cast knew that whatever came next would not just be a scandal, it would be destruction. The glow from Carly's phone felt like a spotlight, Every eye in the room locked on the screen, the silence pierced only by the thrum of the cameras recording every second. Rashida leaned forward, her body rigid, while Jasmine covered her mouth with both hands. Kendra's jaw tightened, sensing a storm she hadn't predicted. "Don't play with me, Carly," Kirk growled, his voice low but shaking. "You always stirring something. Those screenshots could be anything." Carly smirked, scrolling slowly like she was enjoying the suspense. "Oh, they're not just anything. They're bank transfers. Thousands. Sent under a name that ain't yours. But sure looks a lot like one you'd use when you don't want Rashida finding out." She tilted the phone toward the nearest camera, and the crew zoomed in, catching enough detail to set the blogs on fire later. The room erupted shouts, accusations, voices overlapping. Rashida slammed her hand on the table, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Show me." Carly slid the phone across the table. Rashida snatched it up, scrolling furiously. Her face paled. "Kirk, these are dates from last year, when you promised me you'd stopped." She shoved the phone back toward him, her voice rising. "You were still paying somebody else while I was rebuilding my trust in you." Kirk's face twisted, caught between anger and desperation. "It's not what it looks like," he stammered. "That wasn't another woman, it was an old deal. A business arrangement." "No," Rashida snapped, standing now. "Don't you dare spin this into business. I've been down this road with you before. You hide behind contracts and brands when what you're really hiding is your mess. I'm done being lied to. I'm done being your cover story." The audience of cast members and crew broke into murmurs, some shaking their heads, some whispering into their phones. Yandi leaned back, arms crossed, whispering to Sierra, "He just dug his own grave." Sierra nodded solemnly. Jasmine wiped her tears, whispering, "I can't believe I thought he cared about me. I can't believe any of us thought we were special." Carly raised her brows, enjoying the storm she had set off. "See, the truth always comes out. And it always comes through me." Kendra shot her a sharp look. "This ain't about you, Carly. Don't make it about clout." Carly shrugged, "I'm just saying, if I didn't bring it, he would have kept lying." The tension exploded again when Rashida turned directly to Kirk, her voice trembling with fury. "Do you even know what you've done to me, to our kids, to this family? You've turned our lives into a circus, and you can't even tell the truth without choking on it." Her voice cracked, and she added, quieter but sharper, "I don't even recognize you anymore." Kirk slammed his fists on the table, standing up, his voice booming. "You think this is easy for me? You think I wanted to juggle lies? I did it because I didn't want to lose everything. I didn't want to lose you, Rashida. I didn't want to lose my family." The words hung heavy in the air, but no one bought them. Rashida shook her head slowly. "You lost me the moment you chose a lie over honesty. You lost me the moment you let another woman carry the blame while you sat in silence. And you lost me for good when you looked me in the eyes and told me it was over while money was still moving out of our account." The cameras zoomed in on Kirk's face, catching the realization that this was no longer just a fight, it was the end. Jasmine finally stood, her voice shaking but fierce. "And you know what hurts the most? You made me the villain in her story, when all along, I was just one of many. You let me be hated, dragged, shamed, while you walked around clean. You destroyed me, too." The cast murmured in agreement, nodding as Jasmine's words cut through the air. Even Rashida turned to her, and for the first time, there was no hatred in her eyes, only understanding. "He used both of us," Rashida said. Jasmine nodded, tears spilling. "And we let him. But I won't anymore." Kendra stood now, slamming her palm against the folder. "This is the end of the cycle, right here, right now. If you don't put a stop to it, Kirk, then the world will. And believe me, the world already has." Carly leaned back, smirking. "Oh, the world has, honey. Check the blogs. He's trending worldwide. Hashtag Kirk Silent is the #1 tag right now. And it ain't because people like you." Kirk rubbed his face, pacing like a caged animal. The weight of his empire, his family, his reputation, everything was crumbling in real time. He looked at Rashida desperately. "Please, don't let this be the end. We can fix this. We've fixed worse." Rashida's voice was calm now, almost eerily calm. "No, Kirk. We survived worse, but we didn't fix it, and I'm done surviving." Gasps filled the room. Jasmine whispered, "She's leaving him." Kendra nodded, her expression firm. "It's the only way." The cameras zoomed in on Rashida as she delivered the words that would be replayed for years in clips and memes. "I choose me. I choose peace. And I choose to stop carrying your lies." The room erupted cheers, claps, gasps. Some cried, some shouted. The cast was divided, the crew stunned. and the fans watching from home would later flood social media with one collective reaction. Rashida finally broke free. Kirk slumped back into his chair, defeated. For once, he had nothing left to say. His silence, the same weapon he had always used, had finally destroyed him. The meeting ended in chaos, Carly rushing off to post her exclusive, Yandi shaking her head in disbelief, Sierra hugging Rashida, Jock pulling Kendra close. Jasmine walked out quietly, her face streaked with tears, but her head held higher than it had in years. For the first time, she wasn't the villain, she was just free. Later that night, Rashida posted one final statement to her fans. Sometimes strength is leaving. Sometimes strength is silence. But today, my strength is honesty. Thank you to everyone who prayed for me. This is not the end of my story, it's the beginning of a new one. The post went viral instantly, shared across every platform, fans flooding her comments with support. Jasmine reposted it with a simple caption, "Respect." Kendra shared it too, adding, "Truth wins." And Kirk, he posted nothing. His account stayed quiet, his silence no longer mysterious or powerful, just empty. Fans were shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided. But this time, the division wasn't chaos, it was clarity. Rashida on one side, Kirk on the other, Jasmine and Kendra stepping into their own light. The Frost Empire had crumbled, but in its ashes, a new story was waiting to be written. And as the credits rolled on that explosive episode, one truth was clear. The silence that once protected Kirk had finally buried him, and the women he tried to control had walked away stronger than ever. The meeting had ended, but its echo rattled through Atlanta like thunder that refused to fade. Every blog ran headlines, every fan page dissected moments, every gossip channel replayed Rashida's declaration in slow motion. Clips of Kirk sitting slumped in his chair while Rashida announced, "I choose me," looped endlessly, becoming a symbol of liberation. Memes flooded Instagram. One showed Rashida with a crown, another showed Kirk, replaced by a ghost emoji. The internet had already chosen its queen, but inside the Frost household, the atmosphere was heavier than any meme could capture. Rashida sat in her bedroom, lights dim, staring at the folder one last time. It sat on her dresser like a coffin, filled with receipts, messages, proof of every betrayal. She thought about burning it, shredding it, erasing it from existence. But she knew better. This wasn't just evidence of Kirk's actions, it was a roadmap of everything she had survived. She placed it in a safe box, locked it, and whispered to herself, "No more secrets." Down the hall, Kirk gathered the last of his belongings from the guest room. The silence of the house pressed against him like a judgment. He moved slowly, his body heavy with regret, but also with a bitterness he couldn't shake. In his mind, he wasn't just a villain, he was misunderstood. Cornered, stripped of the power he had always used to command respect. He muttered under his breath, "They don't know what it's like being me. They don't know the pressure." When he walked out the front door, Mama Charlene was waiting on the porch. She leaned against the railing, arms folded, eyes sharp. "Boy," she said, her voice low but lethal, "you better not come back here thinking flowers or sorry's gone fix what you broke." Kirk didn't meet her eyes. "I know," he muttered. "No," she snapped, her voice slicing through the night. "You don't know. If you knew, you wouldn't have done it. If you knew, my daughter wouldn't be sitting in there trying to stitch herself back together. You can go wherever you want. Just don't come back here until you're a man worth standing next to." Her words landed heavier than any folder. Kirk walked past her, down the steps, and into the night, the sound of the door shutting behind him like the final slam of a judge's gavel. Meanwhile, Jasmine was in her apartment, scrolling through messages from fans. Some praised her for finally stepping into her truth. Others still dragged her as the homewrecker. But for the first time, she didn't let it cut her as deep. She reread Rashida's words from the live, "I'm not fighting you anymore," and something in her shifted. She whispered into the quiet, "Maybe I can finally breathe." Her phone buzzed. It was a DM from an unfamiliar account. The message read, "You think you're free, but you don't know the half of it. Meet me tomorrow, 2 p.m. Piedmont Park." Alone, Jasmine froze. Was this another trap? Another setup? Or was it more truth waiting to surface? She screenshotted the message, sent it to Kendra, and typed, "Should I go?" Within minutes, Kendra called. "Don't you dare go alone," she said firmly. "If you're going, I'm going with you. We're not letting the past drag you back into the dark without witnesses." Jasmine hesitated, then agreed. The next day, the city was buzzing louder than ever. Radio shows debated Rashida's future. Would she divorce Kirk officially? Would she rebuild her brand alone? Podcasts praised Kendra as a modern-day truth-teller, while gossip blogs speculated about Jasmine's mysterious silence. Everyone was waiting for the next bombshell, and it arrived in the form of that meeting in Piedmont Park. Jasmine and Kendra arrived together, sunglasses on, moving cautiously. The park was busy but not crowded, families with strollers, joggers, a few couples on benches. They sat near the fountain, scanning the crowd. 10 minutes passed. Then, 15. Just when Jasmine was about to leave, a woman approached, who'd pulled low. She looked around nervously before sitting across from them. "You don't know me," the woman said, her voice low. "But I know him. I was part of it too. And I can't carry it anymore." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through messages, photos, dates. Jasmine gasped. This was another timeline, another overlap. More proof that Kirk's betrayals weren't accidents, but a pattern woven into years of his life. Kendra took the phone, scanning quickly. "Why now?" she asked, her tone skeptical. The woman looked down. "Because he promised me things too. And last week, he cut me off cold, like I never existed. And now, seeing you all speak out, I realized I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the only one. He's been running the same game for years. And if I don't speak, he'll do it to someone else." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't just from pain, they were from validation. "So it wasn't me," she whispered. "It was never just me." Kendra leaned back, sighing. "Lord, this man's house of cards is about to collapse." The woman handed Jasmine a USB drive. "Everything's on here. Messages, payments, even videos. Do what you want with it. I'm done." She stood quickly and walked away, disappearing into the park crowd. Jasmine clutched the drive, her hands trembling. "What do we do with this?" she asked. Kendra looked her dead in the eyes. "We give it to Rashida. It's her war now. And with this, she finally have the power to finish it." That evening, the three women met in Rashida's boutique after closing. The racks of clothes surrounded them like silent witnesses as Jasmine handed over the USB. Rashida hesitated before plugging it into her laptop. The screen filled with proof messages spanning years, photos of Kirk in places he had sworn he never visited, payments under fake names, promises to multiple women. The evidence was overwhelming. Rashida sat back, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. "How many times can one man break me?" she whispered. Kendra placed a hand on her shoulder. "He hasn't broken you. He's exposed himself. This ain't your shame, Rashida. It's his." Jasmine spoke softly. "If you want me gone after this, I'll go. But I needed you to see it wasn't just me. I needed you to know I wasn't the only lie." Rashida looked at her, and for the first time, her expression softened. "You gave me the truth," she said quietly. "That's more than he ever did." The three women sat in silence, the glow of the laptop casting long shadows across the boutique. Outside, the city roared with speculation, but inside, a quiet alliance was forming, one built not on love, but on survival. By the next morning, the USB's contents had leaked. Whether by accident or design, no one knew, but the fallout was instant. Headlines screamed, "Kirk's double life exposed, more women, more lies." Fans were stunned, hashtags trended, and Kirk's name became synonymous with betrayal. Brands pulled back, endorsements wavered, even producers questioned whether keeping Kirk on the show was worth the backlash. His empire, once untouchable, now looked like a crumbling tower, each brick falling faster than he could catch it. And through it all, Rashida stood taller than ever. Her boutique sales skyrocketed as fans rallied behind her, calling her the queen who rose from the ashes. Jasmine found unexpected support too, with fans admitting she had been unfairly painted as the sole villain for years. And Kendra, she became a symbol of accountability, praised for daring to say what no one else had. But Kirk was left in the shadows, his silence finally broken, not by his words, but by the truth that had been dragged into the light. And there you have it, a storm that tore through Atlanta, leaving secrets shattered, alliances exposed, and a family forever changed. Kendra's defense of Jasmine, Rashida's powerful decision to walk in truth, and Kirk's silence that spoke louder than any confession. It was the kind of drama fans will talk about for years. But this story doesn't end here. The fallout is only beginning. Will Rashida rebuild stronger than ever? Will Jasmine finally find peace outside the chaos? And can Kirk survive the weight of his own lies? Or has his empire already crumbled for good? We want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Are you standing with Rashida as she chooses herself? With Kendra as she speaks truth to power? Or with Jasmine as she seeks redemption? Or do you think Kirk still deserves a chance to prove he can change? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this conversation is far from over, and if you don't want to miss a single twist in this saga, make sure you hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications. The drama continues, and you won't want to blink.